All right. So connecting with and spending time with this gentleman beside me has been a highlight of my trance journey over the years, from San Fran to Dream State, the recent 5 visits to Minneapolis. I had to go back and count those, for not only the music, but also time to hang out with the legend, Sean Tyas. Thanks for being here, Sean.
Thanks for having me.
So, little backstory of my first encounter with Sean's music was thanks in part to a state of trance. Going way back in time, may not be my first ever episode of ASOT with episode 66, but a little forward in time to episode 255, when I heard Lift for the first time. That was in June 2006. It just blew my mind.
Wow.
And then, rightly so, the week after that was Tune of the Week in episode 256. So in retrospect, over the last 18 of the 28 years of being a trance fan, this man, Sean Tyas, and his music has been a big part of that journey. And from Discovery to Degenerate, which took a hiatus and is back with such a rich and dark sound, and now to the Regenerate catalog of nearly 2,000 releases, this man has made a mark on the trance sound itself.
The 2,200.
Did I say 2,000?
Extra zero.
Oh, yeah. I'm living in the future here. So almost 200 releases. Last I checked, it was 181, but there's probably some that are still
There you go.
waiting to be released. So
1,811.
no, right? You're going to get there, right?
Yeah.
Before you retire?
That is the retirement plan.
When you hit 2,000 releases on Regen, that's your retirement plan. So, but no, always a pleasure to have you here, Sean.
Not to mention Twitch, or
Yeah.
other history on Twitch.
That's right. We have some esteemed visitors in the room. We have Mr. Robert Morchet here from Seattle. We have Nico Zagrafos, who has transplanted from San Fran, is now in Phoenix. They've all been a really big part of that whole story of, spending and time and connecting with Sean. And so it's great to have him back here in Minneapolis. And so to think about you and your journey in trance, I always love to ask one of my favorite questions and really digging into artists and their origin story. What was that first trance track that you fell in love with and started you on the journey of your career in the music?
I think for me, I think it had to be, and it's usually the answer I give on this one. It would be the Gorilla mix of 1999 by Binary Fighter. Kind of like an unfaultable track. Many of the mixes were all good on this one. Everybody tends to pick another mix, but for me, it was the Gorilla sound. I fell in love with the JP8000 on that track, that super saw lead type sound. So yeah, I would say that kind of thing, and especially the breakdown, the way it's built up. I like, that's a very good gateway track into the trance world for sure.
Absolutely. And I think if you've been in trance or you've listened to trance as long as we have, you definitely are familiar with that track and all the different remixes, and definitely, Ferry with that collaboration with the legendary Tiesto have definitely made their mark in the trance world. And thinking about music and then kind of fast forwarding in time to past that initial introduction to trance and thinking about the music that you have produced across the number of different releases that you have, what would you say are your personal top 3?
It's always hard to choose because
You're like your children, right?
That's it. You gotta say it's like picking your favorite kids. But I guess if I had to pick 3 different tunes, I guess that would stand out. Would be my favorite track. It would be like my traditional sound. Would be the collaboration, and of course my eventual redo of Zahi. That would be like a favorite melody that I ever released as an original. And then in terms of during my when I was doing a lot more Psy stuff, I think Vagabond was a cool bridge between my melodic sound and my Psy sound. And I still play it sometimes today. And then in terms of going a little bit darker, as the DGen label got started up, my In the Dark was a cool way of jumping into that world and making a statement very quickly with that sound. So In the Dark would be, probably the other one.
And we'll circle back around and talk about Abstrkt here in a minute, but definitely want to take a pause and talk about one of my favorite releases. And I actually had an opportunity to ask Nico about his side of the story. And definitely am interested to hear yours as well in that reboot of Drop. How did that classic come to life as Drop 2?
I hope he told the truth, but okay, so here we go. So it started out as Nico's remix of Drop, and it was coming along, and he was working his ass off on it, and I'm like, oh my God. And I started to really like where it was going, but I started getting my ideas of my own, and I'm like, it's kind of like that asshole in the passenger seat that literally grabs the wheel when you're about to make a wrong turn and stuff like that. Or not that he was going the wrong way, but I'm like, I want to drive too for a minute. And so then we just decided to make it into a full-on collaboration. And then once again, it's because it was Drop was under Recover World, and I was unsure of the legality there. In the end, I was actually allowed to do, a remix of it anyway, released it myself. But let's just call it Drop 2 because it's related, but it's kind of a sequel, and now it's turned into a full-on collaboration. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will say that his response is pretty much on point to what you said. So
there are some true stories in the trance production world.
What do they say? The truth is built on 3 sides of a story. Both of the people that tell it and the person that's actually hearing it. So
yeah.
But no, love that. So fast forward to modern times now. I was just kidding. So Drop 2 only came out a couple of years back. I remember when you were here in 2019, you played the first drop.
That's it. Yeah. Nope. 2019, what, Louis?
No, here, Minneapolis. And he had the first half of it.
And finished. This wasn't done yet.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So we heard the first drop of Drop 2.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forwarding to today, and your recent sound over the last 12 months in Abstrkt. So what does Abstrkt mean, and how was it actually born?
Okay, so as last year kind of came to a close, I became much more interested in doing kind of a lot wider range of stuff, everything from the slower progressive all the way down to 122 BPM. The tempo doesn't really matter so much anymore, so I'll try not to concentrate so much on that. All the way up to really, really banging stuff, harder kicks, more reverby type basses and stuff like that. And I'm going to try to avoid using genres, but for sake of just to be more clear, everything from progressive to techno and everything in between is still maintain the typical trance sound that I would expect from me. So I thought I was going to launch a pseudonym for the progressive stuff, Nays. I used to use Science Nays for the old electro stuff and progressive. And then all the way up to, and I needed a name for the techno stuff, and I needed something, and at first it was Abstrkt with a K, but with the second A as well. And eventually I took the second A out because I found there's a lot of other Abstrkt brandings out there, and if you just eliminate one value.
And Jim, I actually had that conversation. She was Googling, she was going into, was it Beatport? There's another artist called Abstrkt.
There's another artist named Abstrkt. I think there's a sample pack company named Abstrkt with a K. There's plenty of other, and then not to mention probably plenty of other things out there. But if you eliminate the vowel, it's the only one. So I'm like, great, okay, cool. So that stuck, but
so your ASOT show, yes.
So yeah, before the ASOT show, I had a deep, good conversation with Ruben Duranda, and he was like, I don't think you should do a different name for your progressive stuff. I think what you just played for me is all trance still. So through BPM, just
sound.
Sean Tyas for everything. So the idea of doing a separate alias for the slower stuff was scrapped, and now I just expand what Sean Tyas should mean to me. Well, and that's so weird talking this out.
I do that too. Like I've told this to other people as well. It's like being able to break the mold outside of the whole Trance Jesus thing, and that's kind of how people know me. It's like, but no, I'm actually Chris Blackburn is like every other sound, and I'll do sets with Jen as Chris Blackburn, and I've got other projects as well. But being able to say that, hey, this is me, and I can go across all of these different sounds.
And how do we do it? And this is why we do it. We do it not to confuse the fan base. Man, why are you so confusable with that?
Well, I think part of it too is like we want to compartmentalize those sounds, and we feel that the fan base can connect to those sounds better if we compartmentalize it for them.
But I think it's really cool to give people a wider range.
It is.
So, and I was so close-minded for over 10 years in the beginning of my career. So much tunnel vision going on, and in the end, once I started to expand, I started having more fun. My productions got better because you can cross-pollinate techniques. So yeah, I mean, it's a good tip.
Just be you. Just be you. And so in that vein, and thinking about that Sean Tyas sound over the last 12 months. You probably put out more music than I've seen in a 12-month period of time over the last 18 years. Really, what has been that spark to influence so many tracks?
I was asked this question on ASAT too. So I changed my workflow due to us having 5 little puppies upstairs in the house.
Oh, that's right.
It had to be something.
It's fine. It's okay. Just with sleep.
So I changed my workflow. So we had 5 little puppies upstairs in the house that had just been born on December 31st, and somebody always had to be there. And I'm like, I just had gotten a new laptop. And I'm like, I'll just bring the laptop up and work like this and try to see if I can make that work. In the end, working on a laptop was liberating because I would stop obsessing over tiny EQ bullshit choices and just get to that all later in the studio when it came time to take the project down. But working on the laptop just lets you focus on just making music. I bought a little MIDI controller and got the broad strokes of every track done really quickly, sometimes within a day, and then straight to the studio, mix it down 2-3 hours, and boom, it helped.
You were able to disconnect from your normal work environment and just brain dump and just let those creative juices flow.
That's it, and I highly recommend that. Keep it mobile.
Keep it mobile, keep it simple, right?
Simple too.
I love that. So thinking about trance and kind of where it is today, what would you see or say that is the state of trance in 2024?
There's a bunch of schools of thought and there's a bunch of different directions things are going. You have the people that are kind of sticking to the status quo still, and it's just the same stuff over and over again.
The classic trance sound, like
classic. I mean, I think that most people call it modern trance, some people call it uplifting. That's got to go. Like we've had enough of this, and now trance needs. I do like this return to the real classic sound, using also like old more DX7 style sounds. I have a track coming up with Enigma State that is more an addressing of this kind of real true classic sound. And then just experimentation and cross-pollination, because that's what we need for our genre right now. It's happening, but the straight modern trance sound with the sledgehammer kicks and stuff like that, this has kind of got to go, because with that kick, you can't really do really unique bass lines. You have no frequency space for it. So you notice what I learned about when I started doing more progressive stuff is that, holy shit, you have so much more room for really interesting sounding bass lines and groovy bass lines, because the kick is more it's more just in the sub area, so you have a lot more room in the mids and everywhere else, as opposed to with the sledgehammer kick, which basically takes up an eighth note worth of full frequency range. But I guess the best way for trance to go is away from this overcrowded, overproduced sound and more to a minimal sound once again. I mean, even looking at some of the classic tunes like Thomas Bronzeware's amazing stuff, as you would think it's full of stuff, these tracks are made in about 20 different channels, and it is very minimal. He just was able to milk the sounds to get a lot out of them. So yeah.
Love it. And so in closing words, what advice would you have, or what feedback would you have to aspiring artists that are trying to make us in this industry? What would you give them as a word of advice to have that longevity, or even to be able to be successful in this world?
To be successful. And I don't know if there's necessarily a formula for that. But what I will say is, don't go too crazy in download and watching a million YouTube videos and downloading every single plugin and buying every plugin that you see. Your best bet is to learn what you have extremely well, learn your DAW, whatever one you choose to do, on a daily basis, get really good with it and don't deviate, and stick to a vision. If your vision is just to copy somebody else, then that's one thing. And of course, you have all the right in the world to do that. But eventually there will be ideas that pop up that inspire you from a different sound. And then it's your challenge to bring that in. And then that could be something of yours, this cross-pollination. I mean, that's what all original ideas are. There's nothing is completely new. Everything is a cross-pollination and a mix, and how you bring it all together.
How do you foster that sound?
How do you fall? Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Thank you, Sean. It's always a pleasure to have you here in Minneapolis. Looking forward to that 3-hour extended set tonight and all those spicy IDs, especially Nico's Grafos here as well, and our good buddy Fair, who is probably nervous as shit to open, but he's going to kill it. So thanks, Sean.
Love you, man. Take care.